corner of Hyrule.
imhughbliss, very, very nicely navigating the Palace of Darkness in the dark here. Very impressive. It looks like he'll be going to take out King Helmasaur here very shortly.
Yeah, those dark rooms, there's only so many things you can do to really figure out where you are. It's mostly muscle memory, so these runners have put in a lot of time to figure out exactly how to navigate these rooms with minimal issues.
And while maybe0rn0t is giving Sahasrahla a visit and imhughbliss on his way to King Helmasaur, I'd like to thank the chat for sticking around during our audio issues here. Sorry for the difficulties there. Hopefully we're be a little bit clearer now, guys. Thanks so much.
Shout out to chat for being really loyal to the community. You guys are awesome. Well, maybe he's finding out that Sahasrahla doesn't have much, going to attempt to get through Eastern Palace. I wonder if we're going to see some dark rooms out of maybe. I'd like to correct chat. I was actually giving comms through a snorkel.
Yeah, I just got out of my morning scuba lessons. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully, I've learned from my past mistakes and will not be doing that again.
You know, interestingly enough, imhughbliss even goes through the basement of Palace of Darkness and Dark Rooms. I don't see that too often. Has to navigate a lot of turtles, which is impressive, but makes it to Helmasaur King. That's a heck of a sequence break.
I'm very curious to see where this lamp will find itself at this point. Meanwhile, with King Helmasaur on his way to being dispatched with a well-timed silver arrow shot, there we go. maybe0rn0t is about to pick up his ice rod.
You know, I mean, it is possible to despawn that fireball by destroying the shell, you know, after it's been placed, but imhughbliss gets the very rare second despawn by killing Helmasaur King before it can even go anywhere. That's about as good as that fight could have gone.
imhughbliss taking the Sanctuary Warp here, maybe on his way to the Skull Woods and Thieves Town combo. Our runner's still on just the Power Glove. Titan's Mitts being relatively elusive along with that lamp, so that's really limiting where our runners can go to at this juncture.
On the bright side, Ice Palace, which would be, you know, something that we want to go mode, can't have the mitts. So, you know, that's one thing that's going to make it a little more likely that our runners may go mode it. Remains to be seen where we find some of these other items, though.
At this point, the flute, the hook shot, Titan's Mitts, Cane of Samaria, all these things are where runners would be really pleased to see if they were to get them revealed.
Well, now that we have a Master Sword and, well, a couple of extra items, even the Blue Mail, I'm wondering if imhughbliss with the extra health will end up going after Mothula here. Seems to be doing very well with bomb jumps as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, imhughbliss has a much more a very good layout compared to when maybe0rn0t took his initial trip into Skullwoods. maybe0rn0t only having 5 hearts and the fighter sword. imhughbliss with 8 hearts and the master sword. Mothula seems a lot more reasonable of a fight at this point for him.
Yeah, I'm sure they might feel a little more cozy with a tempered sword or half magic or maybe powder or something like that, but this is definitely a doable fight at this health.
Having the boots as for Mothula as well to get that initial dash in there to position Mothula to your advantage to try and minimize the possibility of spikes eating up your hits.
Looks like maybe0rn0t is heading to Palace of Darkness, following the same kind of path that imhughbliss took through there, and imhughbliss is doing pretty well with the Gibdo hallway. Elects to kill all of them. Doesn't seem to want to rely on the Fire Rod too much for Mothula, because there's only really one magic pickup from here.
And imhughbliss entering Mothula's arena.
One of the challenging things about Mothula is that the damage class that Mothula takes from taking spike damage is the same, or he's immune to spike damage. So if you do damage to Mothula and knock him into the spikes, it overwrites it. So you want to keep Mothula in the center of the room as much as possible. One really nice use for the Fire Rod is you can get him to unstick from walls if you use that when he gets cornered. Sometimes you can get yourself above him and get some easy slashes downwards.
Absolutely. imhughbliss having to rely on the blue pot there to continue this fight. So that is the blue potion expended for imhughbliss, and Mothula is down. So that's a very wise investment of that blue pot to not have to redo all of the back half of Skullwoods like that.
Yeah, it clearly paid off, and not only that, but it's not too hard once we get Flute or even just want to spend the time to go there to buy another blue potion. So using the free one there to get the crystal, that's a great trade.
And I was going to wonder whether or not we still had an item left, because I noticed that imhughbliss elected not to check the location where you have to pull the statue. So we have the key, and it looks like he will need to check that location. That appears to be the final location spot of this dungeon.
Yeah, that big key chest is a pain to check. I mean, you could have done it before. Realistically speaking, though, if you can find the Cane of Samaria, your life's a lot easier through that room. So may end up electing to use Fire Rod just to knock out these Gibdos faster. Holy cow. We are armored up, folks.
imhughbliss forgetting that he had the mirror in tow and decided to go out the long way, but that's fine. And looks like he'll be dashing right to Thieves Town in the Village of Outcasts.
Well, so it looks like both of our runners have opted to complete the dungeons that they're in as much as possible. You know, the pod, I guess both of them were, hoping that they would find something that would allow them to complete it, like Lamb. imhughbliss was able to just deal with it anyway. It's interesting to see if maybe0rn0t will attempt the bomb jump or even try to go to the back half at all. This may be an advantage for imhughbliss.
Absolutely. imhughbliss very wisely going ahead and checking the Northern Dark World spots as well with the mirror. He can check the Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb as well.
Well, in many seeds, it's a pain to find an item here, but imhughbliss put himself in a great position to get the hook shot. Oh my goodness. Well, it's hard to find a better item than that. Our runners now have access to a lot of Death Mountain at this point.
Death Mountain and Swamp Palace now fully clearable with that hookshot pickup as well.
Now, I guess my question is, at what point does maybe or not route that ledge? Wow. And another sword.
North Dark World delivering here.
It's incredible to find a sword upgrade early. I mean, all of the things that it does to make every single dungeon faster, particularly the bosses. imhughbliss has a lot of advantages at this point. Very hard to die at this point with red mail.
Silver Arrow's Tempered Sword, Red Mail. As far as offense and goes for the final fight, we have a full kit for imhughbliss.
I do like to see maybe you're not doing the dark rooms in Palace of Darkness, though. At this point, pretty decent chance that they'll attempt to do the boss as well. Looks like both of our runners are crossing each other's previous steps, grabbing a lot of big 20s. Nothing but red rupees and red mails and swords all over the place. So while we have this brief lull in the action, I'd like to remind everybody to follow these racers. imhughbliss and maybe or not. I want to shout out to them for putting on this great show for us.
Absolutely. Feel free to give these guys the appropriate follow if you'd like to see either of them streaming their randomizer exploits. So really at this point, it's really a question of where these Titans mitts are located. We don't have the flute or the lamp, so logically speaking, Death Mountain cannot have the lamp at this point. The mitts rather. So possibly Swamp Palace at this juncture. I'm really curious to see where the seed has these items.
Yeah, because it would take a flute for Death Mountain to have mitts at this point, wouldn't it?
Without the lamp in play, absolutely. Logically speaking.
And not only that, but we haven't even seen a shovel or a mushroom yet. Who even knows what's going to happen this seed?
Well, I mean, he has the shovel, so he could definitely, perhaps before he visits the Swamp Palace, he could route in a quick dig there. But I'm thinking Swamp Palace might have some goods now that the hookshot has revealed itself.
Oh, I see. So maybe you're not about to get the shovel. That makes sense. That being said, it's going to be hard for maybe you're not to catch up if that's the case, because that ledge was not in a convenient place to check after this dungeon.
Yeah, imhughbliss getting the mirror quicker than maybe or not allowed him to route in a lot of additional item checks, which led to this advantage for Hugh at this point.
One potential saving grace is if maybe you're not elects to go kill Mothula right after this. It may be sensible for maybe you're not. Well, it doesn't have the hook shot though, so that's tough. Does wrap up Helmasaur King with no major issues. Could potentially end up using the shovel and following that lead, although, like we mentioned before, there is a couple things to check here.
So that is crystal number 3 for maybe or not. temporarily equalizing the crystal situation, although imhughbliss is well on his way to picking up his fourth.
It almost kind of seems like mitts are going to be the first item to Swamp Palace. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, I think they'll be in Swamp. Give me, let's say, a left side chest, just for the additional rudeness.
It would be really bad if maybe0rn0t attempted to go into Swamp Palace without that hook shot. I'm glad to see maybe0rn0t's on this side. It remains to be seen if we're going to see Mothula first or if we're going to try some exploration. imhughbliss had a really great blind fight, though. Wow. He was probably a little disappointed to get the red meringue, though.
Yeah, that fight deserved a much better reward than the red ring, but take what you can get, I suppose.
Well, imhughbliss's coffers are, rife. He's got a lot of rupees to spend, so he's going to check the digging game, hopefully find something there, but I believe it was a bomb upgrade.
Either that or a piece of heart on the 19th dig. I can't recall. Yep, bomb upgrade it is. Very nice.
Interesting to see silver arrow strategies out of maybe0rn0t. maybe0rn0t may maybe have been doing that for the purpose of saving more magic for Mothula, which is a smart strategy. If you have the silver arrows and plenty of arrows to spare, might as well. Wow, we can really see imhughbliss's true favoritism for the blue meringue, opting to pick that up even after just finding the red meringue.
And we do have the Cane of Samaria buried in the shovel location. So that is a major pickup for our runners. That allows access to Turtle Rock.
That's a dirty cane.
Of course, Turtle Rock's still well out of reach for our runners without the Titan's mitts. We don't even know, we know neither Mire location is, or excuse me, medallion as well. So how far away our runners are from Goma once they pick up Titan's mitts is still a mystery.
Yeah, Titan's mitts, flute, both of those are going to be really well sought after items at this point. The Cane of Samaria is going to be useful in a couple of different places, though, and imhughbliss is probably going to try to exploit that to take advantage of a couple puzzles that can be solved faster. maybe0rn0t had a great Mothula fight, though.
Absolutely, and he will be checking the other locations here. He also elected to skip the statue pulling, but we'll have to return for that, and he will be picking up his red mail, assuming he goes ahead and gets that done.
Well, we're going to get an opportunity to see if we're good at predictions here. imhughbliss is checking the first item in Swamp Palace. Let's see what we got. Well, I guess B-Torp confirmed.
Absolutely confirmed. So that's item 1 out of a potential 6 here for imhughbliss in the Swamp Palace. I really have to commend imhughbliss's routing. A very very efficient routing from him by doing all the southwestern Dark World locations en route to getting the Swamp Palace check.
Yeah, and pretty much everything is going to be within close reach shortly thereafter. We'll have an opportunity to get to the Bombos tablet, and since Mire is kind of inaccessible from there anyway, it works out pretty nicely. We might end up saving and quitting after that. Well, we do get an opportunity now to see what maybe or not's going to do. We didn't see a save and quit after that dungeon, so there's a decent chance we're going to check Northern Dark World here.
That is certainly in his best interest.
Mysteriously not opting to pick up the Bug Net of Destiny. Does make the right play, though. We're going to see a hook shot out of maybe or not. So this race is going to be a little closer than it could have been otherwise. This is definitely going to help maybe or not get right back into this. Well, at this point, this puts imhughbliss about half a dungeon ahead and possibly some extra exploration. I'm wondering what kind of gambles imhughbliss could make that would give maybe or not an opportunity to kind of catch up here in logic. And with that, the seed of reds continues. We have red mail, red sword. We've been finding big 20s left and right. Our runners have red in their eyes and hopefully not in their splits.
imhughbliss now we're about to see what the left side has here in Swamp. So
we did have a piece of heart, but that's not quite what we're looking for here.
yeah, it looks like we have 2 items thus far. We've got the map in the left chest, so there goes my prediction. This is why I don't pick lottery numbers often. And we have another piece of heart in the right side, left side chest.
Meanwhile, maybe you're not making the right play getting that Cane of Samaria, having found pretty much everything that imhughbliss has. So our runners are looking at the same progression here, depending on how well their dungeons for Swamp go, respectively. It looks like the basement of Swamp or the big key chest has a pretty high probability of being the next progression.
And it definitely looks like maybe or not is going to go ahead and dive into Swamp here, right on imhughbliss's heels. Or not.
I believe we're about to go get the Bloomerang. Might not be as happy as imhughbliss was to find it, though.
imhughbliss picking up the big key, and we'll be going ahead and retreating back to check that location.
Well, that's 3/4 of a heart container in one dungeon, and that puts imhughbliss at a full heal. Pretty handy to have in any dungeon, but Swamp's not that deadly when you have red mail.
So only 2 locations left for imhughbliss here.
With that compass, I do believe there is just one item left, and it's going to be on Argus himself.
Is Argus gatekeeping our runners here? We're about to find out.
Well, our runners definitely have a variety of options they can take to do the last blows to Argus. I'm wondering what our runner's going to pick. We're going to see silver arrows. We're going to see fire rods. There's a lot of quick kills.
Looks like 2 spin slashes is sufficient for imhughbliss. And we do have the flute, but from Argus. So that gives Death Mountain, logically speaking, is now live.
It sure seems like Argus just needed to have some kind of musical instrument for the seas. And with that, we get to free his parrot friend as well. And it looks like imhughbliss is going to waste no time getting the bird.
So with Mire and Hammer, all of Light World Death Mountain now accessible after a quick flute activation here in just a few moments.
And I suppose at this point, that's pretty much the only location we're going to find the Titan's Myths, so it's going to be pretty straightforward from here on out, won't it? We do still have the lamp and potentially some medallions on the table, though, for progression, so it remains to be seen what else we still have to find.
imhughbliss going to feel his way around the dark to retrieve the old man and see what he has in store.
You know, I never thought about it, but the old man had to navigate an entire dark room to get there. I'm kind of impressed by that, actually. Well, let's see what the old man has for us today.
Just a piece of heart and thanks for getting him out of the darkness. Meanwhile,
one of the nice things... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, back in Swamp House, we have Maybe or Not also going straight to the big key chest, and we'll be finishing off Argus here in just a few moments as well. Go ahead.
I forgot anyway. No big deal.
All right, man. All right, we have pieces of heart everywhere in Spectacle Rock and in the cave there on Western Death Mountain. We're going to go ahead and... we have a Spike Cave check right off the bat here.
Yeah, I like that logic. There's a lot of health available to us. They have a number of safety items. No point letting this kind of gamble, put you out. He doesn't know he's ahead necessarily, but he's definitely running through this seat fast. Well, I'm not sure if he's going to be too happy about that one.
Happy to get it off of his list of potential locations, but certainly a board is not a particular item he was hoping to find out of it.
Now, the nice consequence of going that route first, though, is, imhughbliss can still go all the way back around the mountain and get everything in, basically 2 goes. So not too costly. It's still going to work out to his advantage. Meanwhile, Maybe or Not is going to finish up Argus pretty cleanly.
And a nice, well-timed silver arrow from Maybe or Not dispatches Argus, and he collects his flute as well.
Well, see, I do see chat bringing up the possibility of a book being up here, and in a twisted. Oh wow! Well, let's not worry too much
so
about
much for that. So at the 59th minute of play, we finally have the Titan's Myths for imhughbliss. Meanwhile, Maybe or Not is going to seemingly be on his way to activate his flute. with a warp out of the Village of Outcasts.
Looks like we're also rounding out our inventory slots. imhughbliss does find the Cane of Berna as well. But yeah, I can imagine a twisted reality somehow where the book is here on Death Mountain and we need it to get to a medallion in desert or something. Well, no, actually, we have Titan's Mitts, so we can get into desert. That shouldn't be an issue.
Yep, with the flute and the mitts, that certainly allows you to forego the book to be able to access Desert Palace. Being the green pendant, though, I'm not sure that's high on their priority list, but it's certainly an option for them.
Well, I'm trying to imagine like the worst possible logic progression because, you know, any kind of separation and progression here is pretty much what's going to determine, you know, whether or not imhughbliss can maintain this lead.
I'll be very curious to see what our medallions are. We just have Bombos thus far for our runners, so if either Turtle Rock or Mire requires something other than Bombos, it could lead to yet more head scratching to get this go mode achieved.
Yeah, the safe check that we're going to see imhughbliss doing here, though, before we speculate too much on where things could be, is definitely going to check to see what our requirements are. And it's Quake. Interesting.
And just yet another rupee horde on the island in the sky. I'll be curious to see if imhughbliss takes the opportunity to go ahead and take a dive into Hera while he's up here, or if he elects to forego that and go straight to potentially the Mire location.
Kind of wondering the same thing. It's a pretty fast check. You know, you're on your way. You know, I would think that if he finds the book somewhere, that would be much more attractive because you can then check the ether tablet. But it looks like he is going to go that way. Meanwhile, it looks like maybe0rn0t is going to forego the Spike Cave for now.
Thought maybe we'd have some synchronicity there, but maybe0rn0t will be waving as he runs by Tower of Hera and on his way to Eastern Death Mountain spots.
Kind of like a maybe 5. It's definitely always nice to be able to come into Tower of Hera with the hook shot, though. It pays off when you're trying to do that bomb jump instead.
No question about that. Definitely a weight off your shoulders, not having to worry about doing some fancy bomb jumping techniques there. We do see this. We are still looking for the last item, and we'll see if that is Moldorm or if a basement check would be needed to fully tear up the tower here.
And with that, at 1 hour and 2 minutes, both runners have the Titan's Mitt. imhughbliss taking advantage of the much better damage of the Tempered Sword. And basement it is. Well, we do have the green pendant now, so I suppose as a last resort, I think you would visit Sahasrahla, but I don't think that that's the first place to check. Definitely not before you check what medallion's required for Misery Mire and to check that area as well.
Yeah, you'd certainly want to go ahead and clear out what crystals you can before taking the time investment to check that one single location, but it's definitely in play.
But hey, in the meantime, imhughbliss has a little bit of time to think about his next move, getting a bit of a coffee break using some sword beams.
Yep. imhughbliss can take this moment to collect his thoughts and get a general idea for what he will be planning here. And break time's over. Back to it.
Meanwhile, maybe0rn0t's going to open the portal to Turtle Rock. Not going to save a tremendous amount of time later on for doing so, but if you're heading back to the Dark World, definitely an easy way to get back through.
And I unfortunately missed what was in the basement. Hopefully nothing of too significant value.
Okay, so there's a single green rupee, nothing of real value, but the green pendant could pay off.
And we've got a spiral cave check now, and it is just some bombs. And imhughbliss now going to warp to Desert Palace now and check those locations here. And it looks like he just wanted to check the ledge there before warping into Mire area.
Yep, it makes a lot of sense. Just a small, movement there instead of having to do a couple of extra warps. I didn't catch that for sure, but I believe that was Ether, wasn't it?
I unfortunately missed it as well. I'm not doing well on the quick checks there. And there we have the lamp in the Swamp Palace, the Misery Mire shed. That is quite the buried lamp in this seed.
Definitely nice to find, though. This would normally have our runners going to pod next, but both of them were able to complete with the Dark Room. So that gamble or those techniques didn't really help out too much. But in the meantime, imhughbliss is going to head towards the rest of Desert Palace to see what would have otherwise been bootlocked if we didn't have them yet. A little bit of love it is. Also, it looks like chat's telling us that it was Bombos for Misery Mire, so it may be... imhughbliss could potentially be looking to route some kind of... Or it might even be holding off on Misery Mire for a little bit. It's hard to say.
Well, that's both items of Desert Palace identified here, so imhughbliss going to go ahead and get out of there, and is on his way to Checkerboard Cave, perhaps tackling Mire thereafter.
Definitely a relief to find that you don't have to go to Lammolis to get another item. And with that, our runners are neck and neck. Well, this would be a really awkward place to find Quake. Both of our runners would be very happy to find it, though. It would appear imhughbliss wasn't too concerned about checking Misery Mire or even going into Misery Mire with the Bombos, instead opting to go directly to the mountain, get a health refill. I'm not sure where he's going yet, though.
Looks like he wanted the health to give himself a little bit of insurance before diving into Mire.
It's really smart to do that for any, approach to Mire. Mire 2, which is the second room in the dungeon, is much easier, so much easier to complete if you have sword beams. Wow, so our racers have a little bit of sync here.
Yeah, maybe you're not taking some unfortunate damage by that pesky bird on the way to Mire, so that's going to eliminate his ability to do sword beams in Mire 2.
I'm not entirely certain if you can damage Wizrobes with Bombos, but that would be a valid strat here. Looks like maybe you're not going to opt for the hook shot to get a little bit of range damage in. Definitely a good backup. imhughbliss had a bit better of a Mire 2, though, and that advantage is going to get him a little further into the dungeon. So that's a bit of an advantage that he has going forward.
Mm-hmm. So we're looking for 2 items in this dungeon along with the big key in order to access Vitreous. Obviously, Quake, the item of the moment right now. That's certainly what our runners are most hoping to find here.
Yeah, the alternative is they're going to have to go to Ice Palace, so, you know, it's pretty imperative that they find either Quake or a book leading to Quake at this point. There appears to be a few murmurs in chat about a potential pedestal seed with Quake. I mean, I don't see how it could not happen at this point. I mean, it's definitely possible. Well, we have Big Key at the same time, but divergences in their routing. Looks like imhughbliss is going to go check the vanilla Big Key location. All the while, maybe0rn0t has said maybe to that, and instead wants to check the Kane location.
Yep, saving that. Trying to see if he can cut that corner here, because that is definitely a bit of a time investment getting that single location. But just a map in the big chest for maybe0rn0t.
Yeah, the gamble, you know, seems sound, you know, because if you're going to end up getting through the dungeon faster for it, no big deal. But if you full clear, then, you know, you just kind of got to hope that your opponent did the same. imhughbliss made a good gamble, but maybe0rn0t does pick up the powder. So it looks like imhughbliss is probably going to have to redouble through the dungeon anyway. Our runners may have actually been, you know, on parity doing this. That's the lousy thing about this big key item, though, is because it's I believe it was a small key. That doesn't help either runner. You know, they're both going to have to find out after the last chest that it's Vitreous. So they're going to be pretty close going into this basement.
imhughbliss getting the last chest pre-Vitreous, so he is on his way, and maybe0rn0t right behind.
With that powder, though, we do have another location to check. Magic Bat could potentially be the Quake location. It could be the Quake Bat. As the runners clear through the Misery Mire basement, maybe0rn0t is a little low on health, although we have red mail. It's definitely wise to take advantage of that newly found powder soon. Well, with so much equipment, our runners have a couple of different strategies they can take for Vitreous here. I have to think that they're probably going to default to the silver arrows, but some of our runners may know the damage boost strategy, and if they strafe well enough with the arrows, they could potentially get a zero cycle here with no lightning attacks.
And we have imhughbliss, very nicely done. A nice mirror switch as well after he had fired that second and final shot to Vitreous there. So he'll be quickly utilizing that as soon as he exits this dungeon.
Yeah, that went about as good as it possibly could have. The only way to be even faster on that is to just shoot from a little closer. But I mean, to get a zero cycle is fantastic. Meanwhile, maybe or not, we'll get one cycle, but it'll be just as good of a looking boss. It doesn't take much more time to get that one lightning attack out of the way. Very great fight from both of them.
Looks like imhughbliss going to go ahead and check Hasrala now with the Hera green pendant collected. That is the main difference right now between our runners at this point, is that imhughbliss has already gotten Hera out of the way, and we'll see if that pays off here right now.
And a big 20.
Why not? We found practically every other location of red rubies.
This seems very suiting. imhughbliss still a little ahead, I suppose, depending on what maybe or not ends up doing.
And it looks like imhughbliss okay? He's just going to use that door. I was thinking pedestal check, but we don't have the book for that yet. So what am I thinking?
No, maybe or not is going into desert. Depending on whether or not maybe or not chooses to take the actual pendant, may determine whether or not there's a blind pedestal pull in the future. Although maybe or not did not get the Tower of Hera.
Yep, I see what imhughbliss. He is now with the mitts and the mirror. He's going to go ahead and do the blacksmith sequence here, and is probably take out the hammer pegs as well.
I feel like you can almost sense the loathing for Ice Palace in imhughbliss's routing. And I can't blame him. It's a pedestal. I mean, it's a pendant.
Certainly, especially with these overworld locations still live. You want to do what you can to put off Ice Palace, preferably.
Just a heart piece, so good that we were able to do that with item dashes. Not so great that it didn't give us anything like Quake. If I had to guess it, I think maybe or not has the same idea.
Certainly has that appearance. And just some sticks from the blacksmiths.
That does still leave Purple Chest and the Magic Bat, though. I'm hoping that I thought for a second there imhughbliss was going to miss the bat.
And since imhughbliss will just be fluting to 7, no big deal losing that dark word, that portal.
Well, our runners are definitely not short on health this seed. We have found almost every heart container in the game. And we're running out of spaces to check to boot. I mean, it's going to be pretty much Ice Palace if this purple chest doesn't have it.
And just an upgraded shield in the purple chest for imhughbliss. And at this point, it's really just a question of, will we find Quake directly, or are we going to have to find an item that leads to Quake, such as the book or a mushroom? It's just going to have to see how trolly the seed wants to be with this last medallion pickup.
Other than that, though, this has been pretty linear. Our runners have followed almost the exact same footsteps with a couple of minor differences. imhughbliss has done an entire extra dungeon, so it would appear that imhughbliss has a little bit better execution this run so far. Maybe you're not finding out that the doctor bat is just checking up on our heart. We're all good. One nice thing for imhughbliss is that as long as the quake wouldn't be on cold stare or some other hard to reach part of the dungeon, there's a decent chance that out of everything you can find in Ice Palace, you'll find it somewhat early and be able to mirror out. It would be a lousy experience if cold stare has it.
It'll be interesting to see, even if he does find all the items, if he elects to go ahead and take out Cold Stare just to hedge his bets in case it is a pedestal seed. But we'll see if that decision is needing to be made or not, depending on how these items are sorted out.
Hard to say. I mean, both of these runners have been tearing through the seed, so imhughbliss may end up thinking, hey, maybe0rn0t could be just as fast as I am in this scenario. Might not want to make the gamble, but they've both been playing their cards pretty safely here. I think maybe0rn0t's only missed the Spike Cave as far as all of the overworld locations that have been checked.
Yeah, perhaps he'll go ahead and check that once he finishes Tower of Hera here, which he has just entered.
We did get a couple of slashers and protests out of maybe0rn0t upon finding that first floor big key. Doesn't seem to be too happy about having to fight Moldorm.
And that's two of the items in Ice Palace now identified with that piece of heart there in that chest.
imhughbliss having to check all the way to the vanilla big key location. Meanwhile, maybe0rn0t's going to find out that Tower of Hera basement is the next step here. Well, we will get a 100% Ice Palace, it looks like. Or at least very close to it. It could be the next chest.
Mm-hmm. imhughbliss going to check the Ice Tea room, it looks like, followed by the big chest and Cold Stare.
And there it is. With that, at 1 hour and 23 minutes, imhughbliss has achieved Go mode. Well, as long as maybe0rn0t chooses to not just do the Go mode version on a gamble of Ice Palace, it shouldn't be too much of a time loss for maybe0rn0t's journey through Ice Palace compared to imhughbliss. But imhughbliss going up to Turtle Rock now in Go mode has a commanding lead here.
No question about that. imhughbliss spent wasting no time heading to Turtle Rock here, and a very smooth finish for him here. He'll be able to go right into Ganon's Tower after Turtle Rock, with that being the last of his crystals need to be collected, and things are looking good for imhughbliss here. With Maybe or Not now checking Sahasrara. Unfortunately, he's just going to pay off a big 20 for his collection.
Well, so far our runners haven't been making too many bad guesses. Maybe you're not on the right track. Remains to be seen whether the routing will take Maybe or Not to the right spot fast enough. imhughbliss just needs to not have a bad death with 17 hearts, red mail, and tempered sword. It'd be hard pressed to find that kind of opportunity anyway.
Yeah, at this point, the one equalizer that could still make this close match may be Ganon's Tower routing, but we'll just have to wait and see there. And there is the final sword, the golden sword for imhughbliss, just rounding out that endgame kit.
Yeah, we have almost complete inventory here. I mean, everything that's not relevant to us or relevant to making things faster, you know, is all that really remains. At this point, imhughbliss just needs to find a big key and enough small keys to get through. I mean, probably not going to stop to pick up anything at this point.
Certainly not. The only thing you could possibly think that they would want would be half magic, but we know that is in Lumberjack Cave, and so there's no reason for any additional checks to be looked at this point for imhu.
Certainly a good feeling to have Gold Sword walking into Ganon too. The whole half magic becomes way less appealing at that point. Barely even need it for anything. And with that, imhughbliss has the big key, so it's go, go, go. So I suppose he gets the laser bridge skip. Maybe or Not gets a great bomb jump, though. A nice palace. Nicely done.
Absolutely. And depending on where the second small key is, laser bridge probably going to be a non-issue.
Looks like imhughbliss wisely chose not to open up the big key door there. Absolutely no reason to spend that key there. Interestingly enough, imhughbliss is heading the route towards Mimic Cave. I wonder if maybe didn't even realize that the door to the right in that Poke room just leads straight to the next place he's going.
He probably just didn't want to leave anything to chance, getting that small key in the big chest there. He just wanted to make absolutely certain you don't get locked out of that last room.
Oh, right, we need 2 keys, I forgot. Well, with that, it should be a very easy Trinex finish, too.
Maybe you're not getting his final go mode item here, and he will be wasting no time getting out of Ice Palace and heading to Turtle Rock as well at the 1 hour, 28-minute mark.
So that puts our runners approximately 5 minutes apart, because as soon as imhughbliss did the exact same thing. So yeah, a 5-minute difference. It would have to take some pretty rough Ganon falls, Moldorm falls, and possibly Ganon's Tower routing, but it's not an impossible gap.
a very well executed Canis Samaria item dash there to quickly get through the second to last room prior to the Trinex fight.
There is one potential pitfall for maybe or not. If maybe or not chooses to avoid the bottom left chest, then that's one less sword upgrade. May find 2 keys on the right side and not bother. With a big key still being floating out at that point, though, I think maybe or not should be full clearing the front half as well.
Trinex dispatched just like that. imhughbliss will be collecting his 7th and final crystal at the 90th minute of play here, and will be heading right to Ganon's Tower to get this seed over with.
Well, so at this point, this is normally when we start wondering, where are we going to find that big key? Do you have any guesses yourself, CD?
I'm going to say perhaps let's go with the 13th chest. Why not?
Oh, you got a thing for Bob, too, don't you? Well, I guess it depends on which route you're going, but I've always been a fan of Bob's chest. I think we're going to get a vanilla big key.
And with no small key pickup, the right side is not going to be an option. So much for that potential variance in routing between our two runners here. They're pretty much obligated to go left side here.
Yeah, I suppose a really massive gamble maybe or not could take would be to wait out the tile room and for it to be on the right side and that tile room having a small key or something, or even the big key. It doesn't seem too likely, though. The odds are definitely stacked against that. Well, we have one runner finding a big key, unfortunately not the one to Ganon's Tower. We're going to see if Ice Armos can be skipped or not.
Very nice NMG strats there with the blue boomerang getting through those rooms there very efficiently.
Yeah, the nice thing about that is you get to take advantage of all your menus. You have to switch to different items anyway. You need the hook shot out, so if you can use the boomerang while you're at it, you get to save a little bit of extra time there. Very smart. Well, next up for imhughbliss is going to be the Randomizer room. We call it this because you are never going to see this in a no major glitches speedrun. Absolutely no reason to come here, but Randomizer has 4 chests, so let's see what we get. I'm liking that we started with the big 20. Par for the course as far as I can tell.
This is definitely going to be a deep dive into Ganon's Tower here. Perhaps behind the Ice Armos. Failing that, it's going to be a right side check. If not, Bob's chest, of course.
We did get a nice warp skip there from imhughbliss. There's a small window in which you can dash bonk to skip that warp tile entirely. Very minor time save. I mean, you just save an extra warp, but nice to get.
And there we have it.
So it looks like Ice Armos gets to avoid our genocidal rampage. Lucky them. Well, I suppose that's definitely rough news for maybe or not. There's no, potential for any kind of routing differences or things that could take longer time. Maybe or not's really doing the exact same thing that imhughbliss has to do here.
All right, imhughbliss about to enter the gauntlet here with red mail, gold sword, 11 hearts. Does not require a refill of fairies there, and we'll be heading straight to it and should have very little difficulty with this arsenal at his disposal.
And that's try next for maybe or not. So maybe or not is going to head into Ganon's tower to make the same assault on Aghanim and then Ganon. Looking to find that big key, but not going to have a lot of luck getting it faster than imhughbliss here. We do see imhughbliss taking the powder on the bunny beam there. That actually changes the pattern that these Lamolas spawn. So that looks to have cost him the one cycle. No big deal, though. We have silver arrows.
Yeah, and a favorable next cycle for the Landmo allows him to quickly dispatch them with those silver arrows and allow him to proceed on to the remainder of this tower.
We are going to get to see some really nice Cane of Samaria strats to kill these Wizrobes in the next 2 rooms.
Meanwhile, maybe you're not entering Ganon's tower at the 1 hour 36-minute mark here, and is going to be following pretty much step for step with imhughbliss here.
For those of you out there who like the no major glitches speedrun, this is an exciting part of the run to watch. Very combat heavy. There's not a whole lot of puzzle solving once you get out of the basement. And it's very intense. You get pretty much the most fighting you have consecutively in the game. Very great place to see where people execute well and where others don't. imhughbliss is about to have the rematch with maybe0rn0t shortly, though. Very fastly approaching Aghanim.
And with the gold sword in his possession, just 2 quick swipes of the sword will be all it will take to dispatch maybi0rn0t here.
Looks like they wisely chose to pick up the last magic refill, or as I like to say, the last gas stop for Ganon for 500 miles. Having absolutely no trouble with maybi0rn0t at all.
And a quick slash at the final chest, and that's all it will be for imhughbliss. No reason to check that. He has everything he could possibly be asking for prior to Aga2 and Ganon.
Yeah, not only that, but he's on a very fantastic pace. I mean, we're looking at a well under 145 seed if he can have some good fights here.
Looks like a double there for imhughbliss on the first cycle of Aga2. Two hits away for imhughbliss here before Aghanim is dispatched. It's going to require an additional cycle, it looks like.
Looks like the Geometry Wizard strikes again.
And with Agatu defeated here, we have imhughbliss will be entering the Ganon fight at around the 99th minute here of his play.
Gold sword and silver is going to make our lives a much easier in this fight. imhughbliss is going to look for 6 sword slashes with the gold sword for the first 2 phases respectively. For each of those phases, we're going to have 1 before each jump in phase 3, so 4 total. And then to finish it out, just 4 silver arrows after sword slashes, so it should be a very fast fight here.
That's not true, Ganon. We only drove away Agnum that one time. Get it right.
I don't know if I saw that right, but I think imhughbliss dodged fire bats in the circle.
Yes, that was very, very impressive.
maybe0rn0t has found the big key, though, and will make their attempts going up to the top of Ganon's tower. Should be fun to see that gauntlet.
imhugh getting that torch gliss there after missing with the initial fire rod shot, and is now just 2 arrow hits away from the end of the seed.
And with that, the pig is down.
imhughbliss will take this match here with a time just under 1 hour and 41 minutes. Very well played by imhughbliss. GG.
Yep, having stepped into the Triforce room, imhughbliss will finish with an official SRTV time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 49 seconds. imhughbliss is the winner of this match. Fantastic race. We will see, if possible, if imhughbliss will have an opportunity to join us for an interview in a moment. In the meantime, everybody, please cheer on maybe0rn0t while maybe0rn0t goes through the rest of the gauntlet here. Very close behind. Looks like maybe0rn0t's going to opt to powder before going into Lamolus. Lamolus here with the gold sword and silver arrows. Pretty easy fight, though, having gone through the first 2 phases here. Looking to get a sword spin for some safety.
This does leave maybe0rn0t relatively low on magic here for the next upcoming rooms. I'm not sure if he has a potion to be able to solve that conundrum or not.
I do believe I did see one in the menu, so I'm thinking that's going to be the right... Well, never mind then.
Well, that makes that a moot point.
So we do get to save a little bit of time not having to wait through the magic refill animation. Well played there, and maybe0rn0t getting the God RNG. And thankfully, it doesn't despawn the entire GT. Falls down, unfortunately, though.
Oh, an unfortunate fall from Moldorm for maybe or not.
Well, that's the end of the Worms days. Let's see if we get a check on this last chest. And no, a little bit of disrespect on the chest.
What a tease.
While we make our approach to Aghanim 2, I do want to highlight a couple other things we have here in the schedule coming up if you want to see more Randomizer. Here on the Link to Past Randomizer series of channels, you do have Brewers Fan JP versus Karaoke at 12 and Error and Dunham at ALTTPR Randomizer 2 at 1.
Yes, definitely check those out if you're itching for even more randomizer action. While we have Maybe or Not here trying to dispatch Aga 2 on his way to taking out Ganon once and for all.
Having a little bit of rough luck with the exact angles, the sword spin style of doing these attacks is really reliable for, getting doubles and triples, but you can sometimes deflect in very weird angles. Does wrap it up, though.
Yeah, very nice double there to dispatch Aga 2 there, and will now be facing Ganon here at about the 1 hour, 46-minute mark.
As is to be expected, a very simple 1-in-1, one cycles for each of these phases. We do see maybe we're not taking great advantage of the cape. We don't need a ton of magic in this fight now that we have everything we do, so smart to take advantage of that now.
And Maybe or Not will be answering Ganon's question emphatically with a couple of silver arrows to the face.
Yeah, in case you were wondering if you did find it, Ganon, you're about to find out. And with that, Maybe or Not has finished off the pig.
GG's to Maybe or Not, albeit in a losing effort, a very well done race.
With that, looks like Maybe or Not will finish off the Sebin official SRTV time of 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 52 seconds.
And scene. That is the race.
Appropriate way to end it.
I'd like to thank both of our runners, of course, for allowing us to take a peek at their exploits here. I'd like to also give a thank you to our tracker Alpha channel. Thank you very much for doing a splendid job keeping track of our runners' items collections here. And I'd like to, of course, thank our viewers here again. Thanks again for wading through, if you will, our initial technical troubles. But happy to provide this race to you guys.
Yeah, it was an absolute privilege. I'd like to echo those sentiments from CD. And thanks, CD, for joining me on the commentary. Very fun to do this commentary with you.
Likewise, my man. Thanks, Udai, again for allowing me to commentate this with you. It was a great time.
With that, Maybe or Not has touched the Triforce and finishing off into the credit sequence. Just to kind of echo a couple of things I was mentioning before about the schedule, we do have those races at 12 and 1 p.m. You can also watch more Randomizer all throughout the day. We have lots of races ahead. We have some races on Speed Gaming at 3. We also have it on a Link to the Past Randomizer, and the third channel will be at 4. Speed Gaming 4 has one at 4 p.m., 5 p.m. on Speed Gaming Primary channel, and then 6 for Speed Gaming 3. So like on the hour, every hour, all throughout the day, and even late into the evening, there's tons of Randomizer ahead.
Yep, and it's pretty much going to be that way for the next 2 months. So if you've been looking for Randomizer, boy, this is the time for you. Do note that all these times are Eastern Daylight Time, so make the appropriate adjustments wherever you may find yourself in the world.
Thank you for adding that, because, yeah, Eastern time bias is a real thing, guys. With that, I think that's pretty much everything for this race. Anything else you'd like to add for the fan, CD?
No, I think I'm good. Once again, this has been a pleasure commentating. Thanks again, guys, for watching, and hope to see you all again soon.
Yep, I was Uday Monistic, and I'm joining the comms with CD. Thanks, folks.